Working of the Constitution Assembly. The Constitution Assembly held its first meeting on December 9, 1946. The Muslim League boycotted the meeting and insisted on a separate state of Pakistan. The meeting was thus attended by only 211 members. Dr. Sachindanand Sinha, the oldest member, was elected as the temporary president of the assembly following the French practice. Later, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the president of the assembly. Similarly, both H.C. Mukherjee and V.T. Krishnamachari were elected as the vice president of the assembly. In other words, the assembly had two vice presidents. एक सेकेंड. Objectives Revolution. On December 13, 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru moved the historic objective revolution in the assembly. It lays down the fundamentals and philosophy of the constitutional structure. It reads, the Constitution Assembly declared its firm and solemn resolve to proclaim India as an independent sovereign republic and to draw up her future governance a constitution wherein the territory that now comprises British India, the territories that now form the Indian state, and such other parts of India are outside India, and the state as well as the other territories as are willing to be constituted into the independent sovereign India shall be union of them all, and wherein the said territories were with their present boundaries or with such other as may be determined by the Constitution Assembly and thereafter according to the law of the Constitution. Law of the Constitution shall possess the retain the state of the autonomous united together with residual power, and the exercises all powers and functions of the government and administration saves and accept such power and function as are vested in or assigned to the union or as inherited or implied in the union or the resulting therefore, and wherein all power and authority of the sovereign independent India, the Constitution, parts and the organs of the government are derived from the people, and wherein shall be guaranteed and secured to all the people of India justice and social, economical and political equality of the state. Wherein shall be guaranteed and secured to all people of India justice, social, economics and political equality of the status of opportunities and before the law, faith, worship, vocation and associate and action subject to law and public morality. Wherein adequate safeguards shall be provided for minorities, backward and tribal areas, and depressed and other backward classes, whereby shall be maintained the integrity of the territory. And sovereign rights on land, sea, and air according to justice and the law of the civilized nation. And this in this ancient land attain its rightful and honored places in the world and make its full and willing contribution to the promotion of the world peace and the welfare of mankind. The revolution was unanimously adopted by the Assembly on January 22, 1947. It influenced the eventual sorry The revolution was unanimously adopted by the Assembly on January 22, 1947. It influenced the eventual shaping of the Constitution, though all its subsequent stages. Through all its subsequent stages, its modified version from the preamble of the present Constitution. Changed by the Independent Act. The representative of the princely state who had stayed away from the Constitutional Assembly. प्रिंसली स्टेट मतलब वही जो रजवाड़े वाले जो स्टेट्स थे वो ओके स्टेट्स मतलब कि उस टाइम के जो किंगडम्स थे उनको ऐसा बोला गया है. The representative of princely state who had stayed away from the Constitution Assembly gradually joined it on April 28, 1947. Representative of the states were part of the assembly after the acceptance of the Mountbatten Plan of June 3, 1947 for the partition of the country. The representative, the most of the princely states took their seats in the assembly. The member of the Muslim League and the Indian dominations also entered the assembly. The Indian Independence Act of 1947 made the following three changes in the position of the assembly. तो यहाँ पे तीन चेंजेस हैं जो कि असेंबली के लिए तीन चेंजेस बनाए थे जैसे कि द असेंबली वॉज मेड अ फुल्ली sovereign body which could frame any constitution it pleased. The act empowered the assembly to abrogate or alter the law made by the British Parliament in the assembly also became a legislative body In other words, sorry. In other words, two separate functions were assigned to the assembly. That its making of the constitution were for free constitution for free India and enacting of the ordinary law for the country. These two tasks were to perform on separate days. Thus, the assembly became the first parliament for the free India domination legislature, whereas the assembly met as the constitution body. It was chaired by the Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and when it met the legislative body, it was chaired by G.V. Malvarkar. The two functions continued till November 26, 1949, where the task of making the constitution was over. The Muslim League member, hailing from the areas including in the Pakistan, withdrew from the Constitution Assembly from India. Consequently, the total strength of the assembly came down to 299 as against 398 originally fixed in the 1946 under the Cabinet Mission Plan. The strength of the Indian provisions from British provisions was reduced from 296 to 229 and those of the Princess state from 93 to 70. The state-wise membership of the assembly as on the December 31st, 1947 it's shown in the table 2.4 of this chapter. 2.4 of this chapter मतलब कि क्या ये है स्टेट वाइज मेंबरशिप ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. ठीक है, ये काफ़ी बड़ा है. ठीक है, आप इसकी स्क्रीनशॉट ले सकते हो. दिखाई दे रहा है आप लोगों को? Committees of the Constitution Assembly. The Constitution Assembly appointed a number of committees to deal with the different tasks of the constitution making. Out of these, the major committees and the others were the minor committees. The name of these committees and their chairmen are given below. Major committees: Union Power Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru; Union Constitution Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru; Prudence Constitution Committee, Sardar Patel; Drafting Committee, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar; Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights, Minorities and Tribal Excluded Areas, Sardar Patel. This committee had the following 5 subcommittees: Fundamental Right Subcommittee, J.B. Kriplani; Minorities Subcommittee, H.C. Mukherjee; Northeast Frontier Tribal Areas and Assam Excluded and Partially Excluded Areas Subcommittee, Gopinath Bardoli. ठीक है, यहाँ पे कुछ लोगों के नाम दिए गए हैं. ठीक है. रूल्स और प्रोसीजर कमेटी, डॉक्टर राजेंद्र प्रसाद; स्टेट कमेटी, कमेटी फॉर द निगोशिएबल विद स्टेट्स, जवाहरलाल नेहरू; शेयरिंग कमेटी, डॉक्टर राजेंद्र प्रसाद; माइनर कमिटीज़. ठीक है, तो मेजर कमिटीज़ हो गए थे, अभी माइनर कमिटीज़ देखते हैं. फाइनेंस एंड स्टाफ कमेटी, डॉक्टर राजेंद्र प्रसाद;